Hey guys, I'm my name's Louis and welcome to my latest video, and basically I'm not going to mess about. George Osborne got a little bit of a message for you. You can shove your red briefcase up your arse. You can shove your red briefcase up your arse. You can shove your red briefcase, shove your red briefcase, shove your red briefcase up your fucking arse, mate, because you're an absolute tool. And your budget, the first Conservative budget in something like 16 years, I think, something like that, and it's essentially fucked the entire country. Now, one of the main things that they've brought in, they said, oh, we're going to bring in a higher national living wage of up to, I think it's around £9 an hour by 2020 for everyone over 25. So that's essentially saying everyone from the age of 18 to 25, like in between that, go fuck yourself, we don't care about you. And it's also saying national living wage. Now, with all the cuts that they're making, cuts to the child tax credit and benefit systems, the welfare state, all that sort of stuff, with all the cuts to that, so people are going to be getting less money, families are going to be getting less money, the living wage isn't enough to raise a family. And they've also said that if you have more than 2 children, you won't be able to claim child benefit on that, which is bullshit, because why should you be able to tell someone how many kids they can have? Like someone might want to have 3 or 4 kids, some people might want to do that, and you're saying that it's their fault that they want to do that. Well, it's their human right to be able to have kids, so if they want to have 6 or 7 kids, let them have 6 or 7 kids. They're people. Don't treat them like a number. They are actually people. They do have thoughts, feelings, emotions, regrets. They have personalities. They're not just a number on a fucking calculator. Like, you need to get that through your head. All the Tories, everyone in the government, do you not realise that you're harming people's like welfare and people's state of mind? People aren't happy anymore. People are suicidal. People are depressed. People are going through all sorts of mental health problems, and also the government's cutting funding to mental health services and disability services. But you're causing those problems, so you can't cause them then take them away. That makes no sense. Like, that's like someone, I don't know, falls down somewhere, breaks their leg. Instead of taking them to the hospital to get their leg sorted out, you break their other leg. Like, no, that's not what should happen. You don't create a problem then make it worse. You create a problem, you try and fix the problem. Just problem fixed. It's not difficult to understand. I mean, all you Tories supposed to be all gone to all like public schools and all like freaking eating fucking posh twats. You've all gone, and you don't seem to realise that when you have a problem, by making the problem bigger, that doesn't solve the problem. Like, I don't know if you literally just spent your entire school life eating your fucking shoulder while your mummy and daddy pay for everything and spoil you rotten and you get everything you want, like David Cameron, fucking public school wanker. He doesn't know what real life is. He doesn't know what struggle is. He doesn't know what economic problems actually mean, because he's just lying in his pocket. Same with George Osborne. I mean, his trust fund since the budget has gone up by around £1.5 million. Why the fuck does he need that money? He doesn't do anything. He just sits on his arse, comes up with bullshit to fuck the country even more, and just does it. Like, George Osborne, seriously, next time you decide to fuck me, can you at least, apply some lube? That's some common etiquette that you have to do when you fuck someone. But no, you just like to go in dry. What are you doing? Like, seriously, it's just getting absolutely ridiculous. And the way how it's the living wage is only for over 25. What if you're 18 to 20 and you want to start 18 to 24, sorry, and you want to start a family with like kids and stuff, or you with your girlfriend, you want to move in with your girlfriend, you're not going to be able to, because you're not going to be able to afford it. Can we not, rather than raising the living wage, can you not just raise the minimum wage? That would probably make sense. Just minimum wage to £10 an hour. It'd help a lot of people out. And another thing about them disregarding young people, like, they seem to hate young people. Like, if you're under 25, they think you shouldn't even be outside. You should just be locked up in some sort of zoo until you turned 25. No. They've also decided to do this to make it even worse for young people by changing the university maintenance grant into a loan. So not only are we now going to get less money because the loan is going to be less than the grant, we're also going to have to pay it back on top of our other student loans. So that means it's going to have, basically, there's not going to be a maintenance grant, it's just going to add to the maintenance loan we already have, and it might slightly be a bit more than what it is at the moment, but if you take into account, if you take how much the grant was away from what the maintenance loan is already, what's left is pretty much what they're going to give you in an additional loan, which is kind of stupid because it's just like, oh, they want to get more money out of you. And yeah, let's face it, when you go to university afterwards, when you finish, in England anyway, you only have to pay back when you earn over 21,000. But the whole point of £21,000 a year, but essentially the whole point of going to university is to try and get better job prospects. So you want to be earning higher levels, like you're not just happy with like a 15 grand a year freaking cashier job. You want to have a better career. You want to get into art, or you want to get into teaching, or you want to get into, you know, you want to be a doctor or a dentist or some sort of scientist, a researcher, journalist, whatever you want to be. You're going to have that debt hanging over you for the rest of your life. Well, it gets written off after, I think it's is it 40 or 50 years, but let's be honest, by the time you finish uni, you'll probably be around 21. If you start around 18, you'll be 21, 22, and what, 4 years after that is like, you'll be like 70. No, sorry, my maths is a bit off there. You'll be like early 60s. And at that point in your life's pretty much like gone, really. I mean, if you wanted to do anything, you really would have done it before then, I suppose, and you probably would have had kids by that age as well. So, you know, that's another thing. And the government seem to think that if they make it a loan so we can give the government more money, it'll fix all the government debt. Well, you want to cut all these things. You want to cut funding for education. You want to cut welfare benefits, tax credit, all this stuff. You want to cut all that, yet the banks still get freaking bonuses. The BBC executives, I know this for a fact, the BBC executives get paid more than the Prime Minister a year. Why? How is that logic? Like, I disagree with how much the Prime Minister gets paid anyway, but the fact that there's someone else that doesn't even control the government, doesn't even run the country, gets paid more. And they probably avoid paying tax. You've got all these companies as well that avoid paying tax, you know, Boots, Starbucks, McDonald's, all these big companies, they avoid tax. There's even MPs that avoid tax, and you're not bothered about those, but you cut off poorer people. Like, what the fuck? Take money off the banks, because essentially they caused the fucking debt, the recession in the first place. The worldwide recession was caused by all the banks being in debt and then borrowing money off the government, so the government had no money, and then the banks have used all the money to pay their debts, and now the banks don't have any money, so they had to be bailed out. And it's just like, what the fuck? I actually looked at a stat. The money that's been given to the banks to bail them out is actually more than the amount of money that Greece owes. Yet Greece is like pretty much bankrupt, and most of Europe's refusing to give them money, essentially because they've said no to austerity. And if you don't really know what austerity is, it's a little bit confusing, but it's essentially, there's two parts of it. The first part is cutting government spending, which I do kind of agree with. Like, I do think they should sort of choose certain sectors to maybe give more money to, give less money to other sectors depending on need, like healthcare, education, those sort of sectors. They should be getting more money. But sectors such as, I'm not really sure, like, I guess sectors like sport and sectors like, God, my mind's gone completely blank, but you know, all these other type of sectors. Oh, the military, that's what I wanted to say, you know, all like the war funding and well, obviously we're not at war, but you know what I mean, like all the funding for our military, like the army and the air force and navy, that sort of thing. I mean, I do respect those sort of organisations, but they should nowhere be not getting as nowhere near the money that they want in the minute. And the other part of austerity is cutting like the bits of the public sector and essentially increasing unemployment because there's less jobs and all this stuff. Like, but the government's like, we will keep austerity, I mean, even Labour wanted to keep austerity. Like, all these, doesn't matter what political party you are, this is why I fucking hate all government, all forms of government, all, you know, politicians and government organisations, all these parties, because essentially they're too scared of losing power. They're scared of the ordinary people having more power than them. That's what they're terrified of. And as an anarchist, I obviously want everyone to be equal and have equal sort of power, not equal possessions, but equal power. As I mentioned in a previous video, it's not all about equal stuff. It's not communism. It's completely different. It's just equal power, so that the society is fairer and not overshadowed by greedy fucking politicians who just want to line their own pockets. I mean, Greece, the reason that Greece is so fucked is essentially the majority of their people have said no to austerity, so that means they're not going about it the way that the rest of Europe and most of the world, you know, America are doing this as well, are going about it, where they're taking money off like public sector, you know, they're taking money out of the police, taking money out of education, taking money out of healthcare, taking all this money away. But Greece said no, we don't want that, we want to keep all our services, and essentially they just went bankrupt because Europe were like, well, if you don't do austerity, we're not going to give you money. I mean, if you look at Greece, if we think, imagine if it said in Greece it said Greek austerity kills 5 people per week. Imagine if it said that. Imagine if it was in the papers all over the internet, all over that. If that headline, everyone would go ape shit. The Greek people would be up in sort of rage, and the rest of Europe would be up in rage. But that's not far from the truth, because since austerity's come in, there's an average of 5.2 people committing suicide in Greece per week because of austerity, because they just don't have the money, and because the whole thing is depressing them and making them mentally unstable, so they want to kill themselves, and they ultimately do. But the government doesn't care, obviously. As long as they're getting the dollar, they don't care about people dying, because essentially they don't care about normal people. And, you know, the sooner we get rid of all these sort of governments, the better. I mean, I was left, like a lot of people, I was left feeling a bit let down when voted for, no matter who you vote for, unless it's Conservative, you're essentially fucked. Like Labour, I voted Labour, it just got, and I'm sure I know so many people across the UK that voted Labour, but because the system is that it's done by seats, not by actual number of votes, that's why the Conservatives have got a majority and are in, whereas if it was down to actual votes, it would probably be more close to SNP and Labour getting in, which is, I mean, it's better than Conservative, because at least they want to try and help the mass people, and it's a step towards what I think is the right way for humanity to go in terms of anarchism and equality and that sort of thing. But really, stop austerity, because it's just going wrong. I mean, this video is probably not going to actually help much, but if I can teach more people about what's going on and how the government are fucking us, essentially. The David Cameron and the Conservatives are all cunts, taking a massive dump on us. Don't care who you are. If any pro-conservative people want to say something in the comments, go ahead, but I'm essentially just going to say you're a cunt, because you probably are, because you just care about your own pocket. You don't care about other people. And you can make the argument, humans are ultimately selfish, but no, there's been experiments where people have, you know, they've like put someone pretending to be homeless or something that needs help, or someone that's had like an accident with their car, or they've hurt themselves or something like that, and they did experiments and checked how many people would actually stop and, you know, help them, and it turned out that more people stopped and helped than walked past. Most people just went to help straight away. So you can't just say humans are selfish, because in certain situations we will help each other. So, you know, that's just something to think about. But get rid of austerity, you know, take money off, make all these big companies pay their taxes. Just don't let them evade them. Take money away from the military, because we don't fucking need it. disarm our nuclear weapons, get rid of that Triton, that stupid nuclear submarine that they're spending millions or maybe even billions of pounds on, which is not even needed, because that's another thing. Are we in a world war? No, we're not. We're not in a world war. Yes, there's terrorism in some parts of the world, and yes, things with ISIS and that sort of thing, but it's not such a large-scale war. And attacking them, I mean, I was a little bit angry last week over the thing in Tunisia, but then I sat down and thought about it. If we go and like bomb Syria and we'd start attacking ISIS and stuff, it's just going to start a war, and it's not going to make things better, it's just going to make things worse. We need to actually try and, you know, be diplomatic with these people and try and come to some sort of agreement and just try and get everyone to step down and just stop fighting, because you can't fix war with more war. So you know, that's just something to leave on. This video wasn't actually meant to be this long, but I got into a really, really big rant because I'm just so pissed off with the government and just the world in general. So one last like to say, if there's any conservatives watching, go fuck yourself. Just do it. Go on. Because no one else is gonna. Anyway guys, hope you did enjoy that video. Leave a like if you did. Comment on what your opinions are on the budget and the economic situation in England in general. Subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll see you next time guys. Take care.